This tutorial is going to be all about how to draw eyes. I'm going to show different ways that I draw eyes and also talk about the basic rules of what you have to think about when you draw them. And at the very end, I'm going to show you some artists that you can go to online and that post their stuff and post tutorials also if you want to really up your drawing skills, who are basically better than me. So in order to draw anything well, you need to study references. So basically photos of eyes, or look at people very carefully. And what we can see from this just frontal view image is the outline of the eye. So this will be your naturalist, normal looking eye. The pupil, or the iris rather, will always be cut at the top. That is like a normal expression. If it's not cut, it doesn't look natural. And the pupil, the black part, will always be, or usually be, visible in its entirety. If you look at a person from the side or a little bit from the top, like here, you can see that the outline of the eye changes completely. Here you get a much more triangular shape, like this, like this. So you can see the basic rules are the same. The iris is cut on the top, but you can see that the shape of the eye, and you can always see the eyeball, because basically what you have to imagine is the eyeball is like this, right? It's not nice to imagine that, but that's what it is. And these are the outlines of the eyeball. So, and then the eyelid that goes over it here, and like that. So that is what you have to imagine, especially when you're drawing eyes from the side. This is important to keep in mind, because obviously they're going to look very, very different. Now, if we go on and look at what does the iris actually look like, right? And here you can see different images of what kind of colors are in the iris. And here you see the dark rays, the little spots. An iris is as identifiable in a person as a fingerprint. So every eye is different. And as you can see, eyes usually have a bunch of different colors inside them. So basically when you're drawing eyes, you can't make a mistake except for choosing colors that don't exist unless you're drawing abstract. But normally, whatever you do with the eye color is gonna be correct. There are some basic rules that say that the outside of the eye, this part, is usually darker. There is usually a dark ring here, as you can see. And the inside sometimes has a lighter color or a very different color. So even when you look on this one, you can see that there's like a brownish, beigeish color here around the center. And the center has a different color than the outside. So that is a rule that pretty much comes back in a lot of different eye models. Now, if we look at this one, also very similar. We have the little bit of darker on the outside, and then a different color on the inside, a brownish color, and then a greenish, whitish, different color on the inside. And now an important thing that everybody speaks about, that what gives life to an eye? When does an eye look living in a picture? When there is the little light. So you look at this and you see this little dot. And normally people would just paint in a dot like this, but that is really not what you need to do, because that is actually a reflection, right? It's a reflection of what you see. And often, like in this picture, you can see the outline of the photographer. You can see the guy that's taking the picture in the eye. And this is actually even used by the CIA or like intelligence agencies, that they look at eyes in photos and they look at the landscape that they can see in the eye. And this is not a joke, because sometimes you can see a lot. If you look at this, for example, in these photos, here you can see exactly the city. So, of course, it has to be a very high-definition photo, but you can find things out from the eye. So the white in the eye is not just a dot. Like here you have a whole area of lightness, right? But if you zoom away from this image, then the idea you're going to have, the feeling you're going to have, is that it's just light, right? So if we look at this, for example, this is my drawing of a dog. I just do a light, because you're going to look at this picture from a little bit further away, so I don't always do all the details in the eye, because they're not pictures that are going to showcase the eye in a very large thing. But what you do is a bit of a line, because basically what is visible in the eye is the horizon. If it's photo outside, it's going to be horizon and the light of the sky, or it's going to be the lighting from the photographer. So often in eyes in pictures, you have like here, you see this little round spot and it's very round. And if you look really close, you can see that it's a lamp. It's probably like an umbrella lamp that they put in front of somebody when they take a picture. So that is why in many drawings and things, you just make like a dot, a light dot. But really, if you're doing things that are supposed to be like outdoors and stuff, then it's actually going to be more of a horizon line. So a longer bit that is light. Now this is a drawing of mine which is drawn from a reference. So in the reference, the light in the eyes was a little bit different. It was more straight and it went over the pupil, as far as I remember. And sometimes I changed that around. So I just put this one, I put a little bit lower and this one a little bit on the same way that it was, because I want some of the black of the pupil. If the light in the reference covers the pupil entirely, it's not always a good idea to cover the pupil with whiteness, unless you're going for like super realism, which I never do. Now, there are many different ways of drawing eyes, and from my ages of 6 to 12, I did like one body part a year, I could say. I was learning. And when I finally learned how to draw eyes, and obviously I was trying to draw this, the most naturalist possible looking eye, so I had this kind of trick that was like this, and this, right? And that will be just about a good outline. And you can do it, narrower or lower or however you want. But the idea is that you do a cut here, this, and this. And that'll be your basic, that'll help you do the eye shape. And then, depending on what you want, what kind, you might want a little bit more sleepy, right? So you do it like then with the full pupil cut from both sides, which is a more like relaxed sort of look, right? But that is what I would use a lot of the time. I would do this. I would do these lines. That really helps to draw an eye. There are some basic ideas of how to draw eyes. One is like the Disney, like you do like this, and you have the eyelashes like this. You do the big eye with the large pupil, right? And you do a lot of, let's say, color. I'm just doing this on the same layer because I don't have time to do anything better. You can some basic things like this, and then you just do the light here, right? Or not, perhaps a little much. And that is like, and it's an expression thing. So it has to do with what you want to say. If for example you want somebody angry, then right away you do it like this. You do an eye, you do like this, like that, and the eyebrow, and you have a different expression. So these are like the simplified Disney kind of eyes. Then there is the concept of just a line on top. You just do like a line like this, and then you do the eye, you do the little dot here, and sometimes these ones go with the big pupil like this. A big pupil is actually in real life a sign of excitement or aggression. So if you want somebody to look angry, then a big pupil would actually be anatomically correct. So the basic thing when you draw eyes is that you should draw both eyes at the same time. So for that, you need the face, right? So we're going to do this like the Loomis method, so-called. I never used the Loomis method, but okay, whatever. And here you draw one line, 2 lines, 3 lines, then the sides are going to get cut off anyway. And the fourth one is going to be 1, 2, 3 identical spaces. Now this is supposed to be the center line, and this is where the beginning of your eyebrows. So you could say that the eyebrows are going to go like this, right? And then the eye sockets are going to be here. This is going to be your nose. And the mouth is going to be just underneath that. And then, of course, you have to narrow this down because a face is not a big blob like that. And then adjust as you go along, which is why I rarely use this. But if you're not used to drawing faces, then in the beginning, it's a good idea. So the eyes are going to begin about where the end of the nose is, like the nostrils ends. This is where you should begin the eyes. Same distance here as the distance of the eye. So this is going to be basically your eye space here. And then what I do is I draw sort of like this, right? sort of like that. I'm talking about realistic drawing, so, and both eyes at the same time, because that way you have a good balance between them. If you do one and then the other, then basically you've forgotten what you did on the one side. By the time you get to the second side, doesn't look the same, big problem. So you have this, then you have the eyebrows, right? You cut this off, and this all you're gonna eliminate it when this is like the sketch part, right? So you're not gonna do that much more in this kind of thing. We're just gonna give it some basic human features here, right? A lot of people do say, you know, draw a heart like this. So you have the things here, the bottom here, the lips here, like that. And always the face is gonna, because these circles, I learned this from Chommang. It's a dude I'm gonna show you at the end, his channel. He does these circles, and actually that's not part of the Loomis method, but it is a good idea because it shows you right away where the cheekbone is, and it shows you where the dark part is, right? Where the eyebrow is gonna go around the dark part. So this is the like the cavity, the eye cavity, you could say. So it helps you sort of like get the shapes of the face. And of course then this, and this is supposed to be the hairline, right? Because it's the 3 even shapes. So it's your chin to your nose to your eyebrow beginning. The eyebrows then do go up sometimes on certain people, depending on. And then finally the hairline. So this is supposed to be, you know, where your hair goes, and this like that. I'm gonna clean this up. So now we have our basic human being, and you could say, you could want, then when you've done this, you can look at the person, and for example, here I think the hairline is too low, right? Because we did the eyebrows a little bit up. People are not all the same, so a lot of people will have this distance be a little bit longer, and basically when you're drawing like a man, you will try to get this distance to be a little bit longer. That is the masculine thing. So now we're gonna say, and if you ever have a problem, like you think that, okay, I think these eyes are too high up, because I would say this whole bit is perhaps a little bit too high up, then in open canvas, you can take your selection tool, select the bit that you want to move, right, like this, and then you do free transform down here, and you can just move it to the place where you think that it's going to be perfect. And you can do this with every single part of the drawing. That's the good thing with digital art, that you can move stuff around. So I think it was a little bit high, so here we go, this is better. Then you go select or deselect. So for this exactly, we're going to deselect. So here I've moved the eyes down a little bit more, and I'm going to move the nose up a little bit, because when you actually finally look at this stuff, when you're drawing, you can see when you have a problem. Also, a good thing when you're drawing is you can flip the canvas, right? So you can see right away. I can see that this eye is a little bit smaller, so this needs to be fixed. We're going to fix this eye because it is a little bit smaller than the other one. These things you should do right away, because you can see. And now we're going to draw in our irises, right? And make sure they look in the same direction, because this is usually a problem when you draw eyes. To make it really look natural, a lot of people will place them too close together. They have to be really looking in the same direction now. And also, there is a tendency for people to draw the pupil too small. The pupil, even when you're in like bright light, for example, if you look at these like references, this is like the brightest light. She's got a light right on her. You see how big the pupil is. The pupil is never smaller than that. So these drawings where the pupil is like a dot, they are not realistic. So we have this, and now we're gonna draw just, I'm not gonna do the rest of the person, I'm just gonna give her some hair so that this doesn't look so scary, you know, but I'm not gonna do anything more with her than that. So we have something here, here. And the ears also, if you wonder where you're going to have the ears, when you have the 3 lines, right? Basically the ears are supposed to be in this space here, right? So that's just about the height of the ears. I'm not going to do more face tutorials because there's a lot of face tutorials out there. So now what I'm going to do is, for the layer I've done, I can lower the opacity a little bit so it doesn't bother me so much with the millions of little lines. And then I get my brush, and this is where I'm going to draw. So here we go. This is it. And then you sort of draw it like an eye should look. You can do eyelashes or not eyelashes. That depends on. I'm not gonna do too many little details because basically it would take too long. The more time you spend on this, the more you can do details. And there are some people. Now this one I really don't like drawing in the left during to the left, towards the left. And like I said, always do the two sides at once, because that way you're gonna get kind of symmetrical. I still can see that this one is bigger than that one. So, you know, you can see your problems right away, and the best thing is to correct them right away. So, and now we have the outline. The next thing to do is the color of the iris. So in order to have just the ability to see what we're gonna be working on, I'm just gonna really quickly give ourselves just a background, so we have something to work with here, right? This too. And I'm gonna just dunk a color in that. Hello. There you go. Oh my god, she's a Simpson. Okay, so I de-Simpsified her. She's not a Simpson anymore. I'm just gonna give her some hair because I really think we need to not have this bald doll that we're looking at. So hold on. Basically, the whole point of doing this is to show that when you do the eyes, and we're gonna do on the color layer, you get the white in already, so that whenever you work on the face and everything, on all the layers that are going to be underneath, the eyes are going to be protected, so you don't. I'm going to select these eyes. It's going to be easier for me if I don't have to do the cleanup around them. You cannot select it and then erase around, but that's a different thing. So here we are going to, well, let's just dunk it, right? Dunk this and dunk that, right? So now you have like the base color. You can use that for the the outside. You can keep that. I would take a brush that has a little bit of, like, for example, chalk is not a bad brush. I don't know if this is the best chalk, but a brush that will give you some, it's too big. A brush that will give you some kind of texture, you know, and okay, let's go massively texture. Okay, so you can take some kind of lighter color and then run these like dots and spots around the eye, right? So this is going to give you sort of an eye texture. And as you can see, you just leave the outside dark like that, so it's going to have that natural ring around it. Do like blotches, right? So we're just gonna, we're already doing the sort of eye structure thing. Right, and what you can do now, which I would usually always do with eyes, is get the fingertip. That's the thing. And fingertip, hold on, I want it small, but with a lot of effect, right? And then you just do this, right? And that'll grab on to the middle things and push them out like this. And you have to remember that eyes they don't have to be like, and this is like perfectly normal for eyes to have these dots, which is why they are really our fingerprints, right? That we're gonna in the future identify ourselves with. Okay, this, and then I'm gonna do these like lines. Okay, and now if you feel this whole thing is a little bit too extreme, because I'm doing this, like the colors are a little bit unrealistic. That's not what you would do if you were like a reasonably smart, normal person. Then you can just take some kind of color and run across it, bigger brush size, and run across it like this, right? and it'll mellow all this stuff down, right? So make it more coherent. And then you can decide how much you want of the, because I would do here, I would do an outer edge with a little bit more. So I would do the outer edge here, dark, really dark. I would do the outer edge really dark, like this, and then maybe get rid of the black outline, because the black outline of the eye is not strictly necessary here. I'm gonna get the fingertip and I'm gonna draw these dark ones in, like that, right? Like this. Okay, so we're here, and now I'm gonna take this, the black outline. I'm gonna get my soft eraser, which actually just has lower opacity. So I'm just getting rid of some of this, of the outline, because I feel that it is too black, and eye doesn't have an outline that is quite that strong, right? So here we are, and now of course good thing is to draw in the pupils, so I'm gonna do that now. You can just draw them in black. There is a thing about eyes that when a light hits the eyes, the rule, so this is like a simplified rule, but anyway, the rule is that if the light is coming from this side, let's say, and I'm gonna have the white spots here to show the lighting, then the bottom of the iris is gonna be a little bit brighter. It like gets lit up by the light. I pick the luminescence brush, which is normally way down, and it's a linear dodge brush, so the effect is called linear dodge. And what it does, it'll just lighten that up if you want bigger, so like this, so the effect will be so like this, so it'll just lighten that area. But you can just take an airbrush and basically do the same thing. If you want a certain color to it, you just add that color, so it'll make it like lighter. It looks like there is a light. And then multiply is a good way, a good also function. Every brush that you have, because I just made this multiply brush, there isn't anyone. You can take any brush you want, go up here, duplicate the brush, right? And then when you have the brush duplicated, you go in here, and here you can decide on the blending modes. And here you have all the different blending modes. So linear dodge is the one I used here, but here what I have for this one is multiply. Multiply is basically the shade brush, right? So if you want to put some shade on something, but you have to pick a color that is shade correct, you could say. So I'm gonna use that one, and I think it was wasn't it airbrush? Yeah, so it's an airbrush that I turned into this, because I want this to be like gentle, you know. So I'm gonna use a bigger size and just run it. Well, I think I need it to be more like this, right? Darker. And you run this, and this you go, not only the iris, but even the white of the eye is going to have shade. So you run this shade across it like that, and then you put the little white things on the thing. So we're on the top layer here now, so it's gonna go over the iris. It's gonna be the light. So we go like this, right? And this you can then, and I would do these like uneven, sort of keep them the same way, same looking from the one side to the other. But I think this is better than doing just the dot, because, you know, a lot of people will do just like this dot in the end. And you can do that, definitely. I mean, if you want to. Let's get rid of these. I'm gonna just do the dot and you'll see the difference. Right, I couldn't erase the layer. A lot of people will just do like this dot, right? And that gives life to the eye. It's perfectly fine. You can do that. But I prefer to do, and also what I've seen often in cartoons and things like this, is they do a triangle like this and a dot here like that. That is also something you can do, but I prefer when it's a little bit messy. So I will like do like a landscape of stuff, right? And I will do it like this and sort of like that. Yeah, like this. And even if you want to, you can do some lower opacity, bigger, and you can just give it like a shine, you know, like that it shines out. So that's how I would draw an eye. And of course here, if you're really correct, this bit is a little bit pink, you know, and sometimes you can definitely see that this place here is shaded, so you can do that a little bit with the like the reddish thing. And this is when you look at references, you're gonna find this. A lot of people also like to, and this is a choice, put like, do this bit white, you know, like do this like little shine here, and that is supposed to like emulate the fact that this part is humid and also grabs the light. So you can do that or not do that. So this is a drawn eye. So if we get rid of the outlines from underneath, this is gonna be it. So that is it for this video. And I was intending to put in a bit to show how you can use certain technical features like rulers and radial drawing to help yourself draw an eye in a more technical way, but I had to make that a separate video because it would have been way too long if I put the two together. So I have a link to that right here in the corner. You can go to that video. And now to the inspirational artists that draw far better than me that you should follow. So the first one is Sam Does Arts. His real name is Sam Young, I think. He's a Canadian from China, and the guy is super talented. He has fantastic drawings, and he does a lot of tutorials on drawing faces, eyes, just making entire drawings. Excellent man to follow. Now, another great one is Chommang. Now, Chommang does mainly drawings with pencil, so it's not digital, but for learning how to draw eyes, how to draw the face, how to draw positions and body positions, he is absolutely excellent. And then a third one for drawing a little bit more manga style and manga style eyes also is Ladowska. I think she's Polish like me, and she draws primarily manga, so it's very that style, but very well. So I'm putting links to all these artists in the description to this video.